freedom. You've got to groove on freedom, like the good book says.
Welcome. You are listening to What on Earth is Happening. This show will discuss the topics of human consciousness, mind control, natural law, the occult, and all issues that affect the freedom of the people of Earth. What on Earth is Happening will endeavor to shine light upon the darkness of our world and to offer empowering solutions to the problems we face as humanity approaches its critical moment of choice. And now, here is your host, Mark Passio.
Welcome, one and all. You're watching What on Earth is Happening. I'm your host, Mark Passio. My website, whatonearthishappening.com. Ladies and gentlemen, government is slavery. And here on What on Earth is Happening, we are ending slavery one mind at a time. Thank you for tuning in today. We have a great show lined up for you here today. Going to be taking your calls all show on questions and clarifications that you may have for any of the material that I have really ever covered in any of my work. So an all call-in show coming your way today. Today is Sunday, April 30th, 2023. This is episode number 272 of What on Earth is Happening. And remember, What on Earth is Happening is a tapestry of information. The recent shows have prerequisite knowledge that is covered in earlier shows. So if you're a new viewer or listener to What on Earth is Happening, you should not listen from this point. You should go back to episode number 1 and listen to the shows in order at your own pace, and that is the way that you will gain maximum value from the information that has been put out through the history of this show. That being said, before we go to the calls, I want to go over a few event announcements and let people know some pretty cool things that are coming up related to What on Earth is Happening. So let me jump over to my slides. Thank you, as always, to Will Keller for the great artwork that he does for each What on Earth is Happening show. Again, this is episode 272. And it's an all call-in show today. I've been doing mostly guests and call-in shows this season of the show, because I've been so busy with organizing and basically bringing my new place together. For those who don't know, I just went through a move. It was a forced move due to a court order. Again, I didn't really get too much into that. It's more personal. But I have moved out to the suburbs surrounding Philadelphia. And so far, so good, transitioning into the new environment. As you see, I'm still doing the show from my office. Hopefully, I'll have a full studio set up in the next couple months and maybe go back to doing a 3-hour show with a full production crew. We'll see how that goes. But I want to just show people I have an office set up here. I haven't shown them the full view here. I've only shown it in window. Let me switch over to the full view here. You can see my home office, with some of my merchandise set up here. Been working steadily to basically set this up as a good, healthy production environment, working environment to work out of on a daily basis. So I just wanted to show people that. I also got a little bit of new lighting, a little small lighting rig for my at-desk production here. So that's looking, making the camera look a lot better. All right, so let's go back to the slides. And let's go forward. Again, we're on a 2-hour format this season, at least at the beginning of the season. Again, we'll see how things go with the setup of the new studio and whether a production crew can come in-house and produce here at my new place. So if that works out early, so be it. If not, we'll do that next season. We'll see how it goes. Right now, we are still, of course, on a 6-month schedule from January through June with the live show because I dedicate all of my attention from July through December to teaching the How to Become the True Media seminar, which is extremely important for people who want to become a content creator, want to speak the truth out to a live audience publicly, and formalize and immortalize their information and get it out there to the public at large. So How to Become the True Media is coming up. Actually, we have already been in 1 month of the opening of the enrollment. Enrollment opened last month in April. Well, I should say this month. We're on the last day of April today. Today is actually Walpurgisnacht, the beginning of it. Walpurgisnacht begins, it's the highest holiday of the occult year, especially the dark occult year. Again, people should be vigilant for false flags today and tomorrow, for mass ritual sacrifice events, as we talked about regarding the season of sacrifice in the occult world. I love to see that other researchers are covering this, are talking about it more, are making their audiences aware of it. So I hope people keep up doing that because that's the only way to get that information out and make sure that people are vigilant about what these sick, twisted, diseased religious psychopaths do each year. They opened up this season with mass ritual murders events in the form of mass school shootings, horrific events, and again, these are orchestrated events. They do this every single year, just about. And, today and tomorrow from, sundown through sundown tomorrow is Walpurgisnacht, and it is the height of their ceremonial ritual sacrifices on May Day, Beltane. So again, be vigilant for that. Just wanted to let people know regarding today and tomorrow's date. But going back to the slides, How to Become the True Media has been, the enrollment for this seminar this year has been open since April 1st. It will be open until the 4th of July. So How to Become the True Media is an online technology skill sharing seminar. It's an intensive 23-week seminar hosted by me on the Telegram platform every Monday evening from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time from Monday, July 10th through Monday, December 11th, 2023 for a total of 23 class sessions. There is limited seminar space available in this year's seminar, and we are moving toward, more enrollments filling that up. So don't wait until the last minute. If you're going to take this seminar, you want to enroll now to make sure you don't get locked out and you do get a seminar seat. So enrollment's been open since April 1st and will close on July 4th. For the entire curriculum that we're going to cover, basically, we cover everything from basic operating system skills all the way up through doing an audio or video podcast and putting your own website online. That's what How to Become the True Media is all about. We'll teach you everything from learning the file system of a computer to making documents to, producing audio and video, and again, culminating with how to put a website online. So for the total curriculum listing, you can visit the website howtobecomthetruemedia.com. Click into the enrollment button. That will take you to gifts.whatonearthishappening.com where you can enroll in this year's seminar. I'll be speaking at the Great Create event. This is a convention for the Libertarian Party of Georgia. It takes place May 12th and 13th, 2023. That's coming up in just a few days. I will not be doing a show 2 weeks from today. And more likely than not, I will also not be doing a show next Sunday for personal reasons. So I have a personal event coming up next weekend, and this weekend for the Great Create, I'll be traveling. So I'll be in Georgia, and I definitely will not do a show then. I probably will not do a show next Sunday. So the next 2 weeks will be a small hiatus for What on Earth is Happening, and I'll return three weeks from today. If I, maybe, events go a certain way, I may do a show next week. I definitely will not be doing a show 2 weeks from today. But more likely than not, I will take a short hiatus for the next 2 weeks for this show. In any event, the Great Create's going to be an awesome event. Lots of speakers speaking, a whole host of speakers listed there on the flyer. Check out their website, thegreatcreate.org. I'm glad to be a part of this. Looking forward to traveling down to the state of Georgia and speaking there. It should be an interesting time. So check it out, thegreatcreate.org. Two Masks, Same Face, The Dark Occult Origins of Nazism and Communism. One of my biggest presentations to date, an all-day event coming at us October 21st, 2023. And again, an all-day event from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. We're actually going to open the doors at 9. I'll start speaking at 10. There'll be a lunch break, an afternoon session, a dinner break, an evening session, a question and answer session, and then we'll break up into informal discussion at night. And we have until 11 p.m. to vacate the Exton Hotel and Conference Center. So really, the doors open at 9, and we have to be out of there by 11. So it'll definitely be an all-day event. It's at the Exton Hotel and Conference Center at 815 North Pottstown Pike in Exton, Pennsylvania. It is a $60 private donation to receive a private invitation to attend live. There is limited seating available. There are exactly 300 tickets available for this event. No more, no less. That is what the room holds in seating. So once we hit that, it will be a sold-out event, and no one else will be able to attend. So there is limited seating available. Tickets go on sale tonight. Tickets are available via private donation, I should say, tonight at midnight Eastern Time. So after the show ends, about 7 hours from then, you will be able to donate to attend live. This is a live event. This is not going to be streamed online. This is not a online streaming event. This is a live event at the Exton Hotel and Conference Center in Exton, Pennsylvania on October 21st. And the tickets for this event will be available tonight at midnight Eastern Time. So that is my little counter act toward the dark occult doing their mass rituals, this evening. And this is an event to spread awareness that these are simply two different wings of the same bird of prey. They're two masks on the same face of the dark occult religion. So if you are in the area, or even if you're going to be traveling, we'd love to see you at this great event coming up in Exton, Pennsylvania this October. I think people are going to be blown away by the information that I have to present at this all-day presentation. So again, tickets available tonight, May 1st, 2023, midnight tonight. One Great Work Network still going along very strongly with some awesome content creators. We just added a new content creator, Jackie Krasna, and we now have 71 content creators on the network, going to be adding some more in the coming weeks. Please check it out at onegreatworknetwork.com and support the great content creators on our network by donating directly to them on their blog page on the website. onegreatworknetwork.com. Check it out. You'll be very impressed by the content up there. I've added a new video to my band.video channel. Now have 3 up there. Going to be adding 1 hopefully each week. They're getting some traction. I want to see these videos get more traction from the InfoWars audience. Hopefully they will. Again, I want to do some exclusive content for the InfoWars audience on Band.video. For now, you can check out the videos that I'm posting on Band.video at band.video/channel/Mark-Passio. That is my Band.video channel. Check it out. Don't Tread on Philly meets each second Wednesday of the month for the D-Top Happy Hour, a social meetup for people concerned about the loss of freedom. Second Wednesday of every month from 6 to 9 p.m., always free to attend. We do this at the Dive, which is in East Passyunk area of South Philadelphia. Check out the website, don'ttreadonphilly.com, or the Facebook page, Don't Tread on Philly, for more information. Inquire and Inspire Documentary Movie Night takes place on the third Thursday of every month, 6 to 9 p.m. at Arnold's Family Fun Center in Oaks, Pennsylvania. These are always great events. We hope to see people out there. The last one was just great, really good turnout. Great documentary about Kathy O'Brien and her incredible ordeal that she endured. Always free to attend. InquireandInspire.com is the website. The What on Earth is Happening IPFS project is still ongoing. I'm going to be setting up a node tomorrow. And we have at least 3 nodes online, moving toward a 4th, and hopefully we have at least a couple more coming before the end of the year. If you want to help make What on Earth is Happening's content censorship proof, you can visit whatonearthishappening.com/IPFS. Fill out the form to get preliminary information about participation in this project. You will need at least 200 megabits per second in upstream or upload bandwidth for your internet account. Your home internet account needs at least that much bandwidth to be considered for participation in this project. For more information, whatonearthishappening.com/IPFS. Today's show is an all call-in show, so your calls will make the content of the show. I'll be taking questions and clarifications on any topic of any material that I've ever covered here on What on Earth is Happening, and really anything that you guys want to ask. No taboo topics on the show. I prefer clarification questions on material that I have covered, but we don't have to be limited to that. So to call in, calls are taken via the Telegram platform. You can visit whatonearthishappening.com/call, and that will link you into our Telegram group where we take live calls during the show. The ARC 2.0 drive is still available. This offer is open and available. The ARC is a storage drive that you send to me, and then I send back to you loaded with the research data that I've collected over the years. So this is an incredible archive of knowledge that I've been collecting since I've been online. It consists of 26,000 audio files, lectures, interviews, etc., 9,500 digital books, PDF and EPUB, 3,400 digital videos about every topic imaginable. And again, it is available still. You can go to whatonearthishappening.com/ARC for the shipment instructions for the ARC drive. The shipping instructions are somewhat rigid. Please respect them and follow them carefully, because they are in place to protect your property when you send it to me, and to protect my time, because I am very, very busy here at What on Earth is Happening, and I have to do this in sort of a factory line format, or it will be a nightmare. It will be a logistical nightmare. So that's why the shipping instructions are somewhat rigid. Please do abide by them, and the whole process will go very smoothly. I send out ARCs here every single week. People constantly taking me up on this great offer, and hopefully that information is going out into the world and doing some good. So check it out. ARC 2.0 offer available at whatonearthishappening.com/ARC, the amazing repository of knowledge. You can go to gifts.whatonearthishappening.com if you want to get a hard copy of the material that I have presented as part of What on Earth is Happening. There's also the One Great Work collection drive with all of my information on one drive, one 1 terabyte drive. My natural law documentary is available there. Men and women's t-shirts, flash drives, DVDs, coasters, keychains, stickers, button pins, you name it. Technology donations. You could subscribe for the How to Become the True Media seminar. Enroll at Gifts. And I'll be adding a new category up there called live events. Actually tonight at midnight. And the Two Masks, Same Face tickets will be available in the live events section. So check it out, gifts.whatonearthishappening.com. Something there for everyone. If not for yourself, pick up some items and give them as gifts to family and friends. It helps fund What on Earth is Happening and One Great Work Network and helps to keep them going. We're funded entirely by your donations, so if you prefer instead to make a straight donation to the What on Earth is Happening cause, you can visit whatonearthishappening.com/donate. Tons of ways to donate there, including our technology wish list, which I believe is empty. We have everything we need currently as far as technology is concerned. You could donate via Cash App, GPay, Wise, many different cryptocurrencies, or traditional method of check or money order via mail. Check that out at whatonearthishappening.com/donate. That's all the event announcements I have. Let me get set up here for taking your calls today. All right. Here we go, folks. All right, give me a moment. Check 1, 2. Yeah, we're looking good. Okay, let's go to the calls. There we go. Let's see who's holding on the line. Let's hear from Christopher. Christopher, you are live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome. Go ahead and unmute your microphone. When I call on you folks, please unmute your own microphone with the large microphone icon at the bottom of the Telegram call window. Thank you. Christopher, can you hear me?
Mark?
Yes, there you go. You're coming in loud and clear
You hear
now.
me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem.
I've been thinking about, your questions and clarifications. I don't have a question necessarily, but more of a backup to what you covered
Sure.
in your earlier shows. The mind control techniques and tactics of police and military.
Yes.
I could personally attest to that. I was a Marine, and I wanted to give kind of an antidote to just the mindset that we had at that time. It's a very small thing.
Can you do me a favor and just mute the audio in the background? It's echoing through. If you could.
Give me a second.
If you can't do it, it's no problem. We could deal with it. You can continue. That sounds like you cleared it up. Thank you.
Yeah, I had your website up.
No problem.
Listening to the live stream, so I was trying to get that closed out.
Yeah, no problem. So you were saying that you had some personal experience with the mind control methodologies that are used to basically brainwash and control the minds of police and military personnel. If you want to give your personal anecdotes regarding that, go right ahead. I'd love to hear them.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the Marine recruiter was honest when he said that we're going to break you down and build you up how we want.
Sure.
I mean, right there should have been a red flag.
Sure.
My own father said, don't follow an order to commit murder. That should have been number 2. Was not. Still joined. But while I was in there, we were watching, was the first time I watched a movie called Meet Joe Black.
I'm not familiar with that one. What's that about?
That's what's his name? Brad Pitt and Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins plays a CEO, owner of a corporation, and apparently his time has come, and death is going to go and speak to him directly. Well, he needs a body, so he takes this character named Joe, who actually wound up running into the CEO's daughter, and like they had a moment there. They like fell for each other or something, but they were walking separate ways, each one of them looking back. This is the scene that we were watching, but neither one of them made eye contact. He looks back one more time and steps out into the street, and he gets hit by a vehicle, which flings him up into the air. He comes down and gets hit by a second vehicle. And we paused it. We laughed our butts off, paused it, like maybe from shock at first, I don't know, but rewound it, watched it again, rewound it, and watched it in slow motion. All the whole time we're sitting there, laughing it up about a guy who just got hit by a vehicle. So just the morbid, dark kind of aspect of the mindset that we were in.
Right.
That I've thought about that a lot. I'm like, how could I laugh at such a thing?
And of course, they'll prey upon that. They're preying upon the potentially psychopathic tendencies in individuals, and then putting them further into the R complex of the brain with the kind of small traumas that they put people through, like waking them up in the middle of the night to make them line up in formation, providing low nutrient sustenance that is very, very high carb but low nutrient dense. That puts the body through trauma, that puts the brain through trauma, and then people are just ripe for the repetition methods, the chanting and singing, etc. These are all cult techniques, as we've talked about a lot here on What on Earth is Happening. They're almost identical to all of the mind control techniques that cults have used over the years.
And they go for the younger people, and I think it's due to a large extent, they've come out over the recent years saying that your brain isn't fully developed till you're about 26 years old. And maturity level has a big play in that too. Of course. So they go for the younger guys because, well, they're young, cocky, and dumb. And I will say this, though. I was 13 years old when I witnessed Waco and Ruby Ridge, on TV. So I had it in mind that, am I going to have to face these assholes someday? Why not have them teach me their tactics, So that was half kind of there, but
one of the reasons a lot of people join the military is to learn the tactical training techniques that they teach people. And, it's definitely that's a very dangerous slope to go down, because people can get reeled into their mentality and mindset, even if they go in for that reason. I think that there's plenty of private training available, plenty of techniques out in the open through field manuals and things like that, and training exercises that people can pay to undergo. I really don't think it's necessary for private people who want to learn tactical training to bother going into an institution any more than it is necessary for people to go into a Masonic lodge if they want to learn the esoteric knowledge that is traditionally been held within the free Masonic lodges. That is all out in the open, just as these techniques are now out in the open. Of course, there's something to be said for training in a environment such as they provide, but again, I don't really think it's necessary. I think it's too much of a trade-off to go through their to be run through their gauntlet, so to speak, just for that education, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I agree totally. I don't recommend that to anybody who's hearing this. If you have any kind of notion to do that, I wouldn't do that. Stick with unconventional methods, thinking outside the box for that kind of thing.
Sure.
You could go and study strategies of Native American tribes. They were militarily superior to our own army. The only reason they got beat was because we went after their food source. And economically speaking, they got defeated in that sense. But when it happened out on the battlefield, they were superior, you know. Just ask Custer. He learned the hard way. And just that alone is something to be said, because militarily, in the military history, speaking to guerrilla warfare tactics compared to conventional military, they really don't hold up. People talk about, oh, they got tanks and planes and this and that, but there's a chink in every suit of armor.
Yeah, they're not going to be fighting that type of a war where they're saturation bombing the populace. They're going to be fighting an asymmetric urban warfare strategy, and that's going to be very difficult with the types of numbers that we're talking about and the land area that we're talking about in the United States. People don't understand how precision tactical strikes usually are, because they've done very little in the way of homework of studying military tactics and training, and they think somehow that a large army is going to be somehow superior to distributed fighting forces that are using asymmetric techniques of warfare. It'd be very difficult for even an army such as the United States Army or any of the armed forces of the United States to fight a very long-term entrenched warfare in an asymmetric environment such as in the urban United States. People think somehow that they would be, invincible or something, and nothing could be further from the truth. That's why they want to get small arms away from people. Make no mistake about it.
You're right about that. And I mean, there's books out there by the Swiss General Total Resistance that is out there that speaks to, just all kinds of methods to defeat invaders and whatnot. But the problem is, we don't consider that we're the invaders now, and that's where the mind control comes in. They sit there and they romanticize the crap out of joining the military or police. It's Hollywood right there. Lethal Weapon movies.
The founders of this country were all opposed to a standing armed force. They did not want a standing military. They considered it a direct threat to the freedoms of the people, and even more so than a direct military force. We have militarized police that constitute a standing army in just about every single urban center of our country. The founders would have been horrified by this. They warned against it almost continually. They thought that it was a horrid practice to even maintain a long-standing armed force. That's what the militia was supposed to be at the ready for, to defend against armed invasions, external or insurrections that were unjust internally. And then the militias would be called into a organized fighting force, standing army, and then it would be dissolved after the threat was dealt with. People don't understand this, and they don't understand why the founders considered standing military a direct threat. It's because anybody in government that could get a hold of the reins of power over that military could use it for tyrannical purposes, and that's what we see today with all these imperialistic wars of aggression that never end. It's just the dark occult behind the government. People will call it the permanent state, or the dark state, or the deep state, whatever term you want to use for it. It's the occultists behind the scenes, basically using that warfare apparatus for their own purposes and their own long-term fulfillment of their desires. And keeping people under their thumb. So the founders continuously warned the early American citizenry about that, and we just didn't want to listen. People think that they know better. They think, these were just old white rich men who, thought that they knew better and, somehow thought that they were superior to others. And people think that they're somehow more intelligent and wiser than their conventional wisdom that they put out. And when you really read the founders' writings writings, and that's why they don't want you to read them, you understand that these were very brilliant people who thought long-term into the future and understood what would materialize, and they were practically prophetic when it comes to what they envisioned coming. And they tried their best to warn people about it, told them that they would have to be vigilant in order to maintain any modicum of freedom. And the modern people didn't want to listen, wanted to think that they knew better. And that's why we're in the situations that we're in today, unfortunately. And people will disagree with that till their dying breath, and they're incorrect. What I just said there is correct, and if you don't think so, you're wrong. Not talking to you, Christopher. I know that you know what's going on regarding that. But I want to thank you, Christopher, for your call and anecdote regarding the police and military and their cult brainwashing techniques. You're absolutely correct. That's what they employ almost continually. And the people who go into that as an institution, you don't know what you're getting into. You're basically going to be brainwashed by sick Satanists, is really what's going on within all the armed services, and once again, it's usually dumb people. It's young, dumb idiots that think that they know better, and you guys know shit because you haven't been around that long, you don't know what you're talking about, you think you know, and your head's full of shit. And, that's the only way. Somebody's got to just pull you aside, grab you by the hair, by the back of the head, and talk some sense into you, because you're just too young to know any better. You're just a dumb young person. And that doesn't mean that young people can't be brilliant and intelligent. I'm not an ageist. I'm just saying that most people who are that young and go and join cults like this, you're dumb. Yeah, and that's why you go and join a cult. Because you're dumb. That's why I went and joined a cult when I was young, because I was dumb. And until I got the light, until I got the knowledge of what's really going on this planet, and became not dumb anymore, I gave my mind over to a cult when I was young too. Except I gave it over to the guys who were programming the military's minds. I gave it over to the high-end cult that's really doing the brainwashing, Most people never see any aspect of that. They're receiving the brainwashing at the lowest level that it comes down to the public from. I was up there working with some of the high-end social engineers. Obviously, I didn't get to a very high level of involvement with them, but I saw enough. I saw how it works. And, that's what people have to sit down and teach people. That's why we need more teachers of, objective morality, natural law, mind control techniques, what's really going on this planet. We need way more people doing that work publicly. Let's move on, see who else we have on the line here. All right, let's see. We have Kat Waters from One Great Work Network Holding. Let's hear from Kat. Kat, welcome to What on Earth is Happening.
Oh, hey, Mark, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, loud and clear.
Okay, so I just kind of found out earlier today, the significance of today, April the 30th.
Sure.
And I was just wondering if you can just comment and what exactly the significance of April 30th
sure.
far
tell
as
me what you heard, and I'll see how accurate the information you got was.
I heard it before, like Beltane.
Yes.
I just kind of was bringing it up online. It says it's Gaelic May Day. I don't know if this is
they call
right.
it May Day, and again, this is the shared high holiday of just about every occult tradition, especially traditions that involve dark occultism. So again, not every occult tradition or pagan tradition that celebrates this holiday is evil or negative. That's one thing we have to keep in mind here, right? Beltane inherently is not an evil day, or is not something that is just used by evil people. Again, the occult is not one thing. The occult is information, ultimately, that can be used for the uplift of consciousness or the degradation of consciousness, mind manipulation, mind control, ultimately control and enslavement. It's about the wielder of that knowledge and information and what their intent is and what they are looking to do with that information, with that knowledge against other people. Either generally you're going to weigh whether occultism is used, occult knowledge is used. You're going to weigh it against what the adept or the initiate does with that information regarding the ignorant, regarding those who have not been initiated into that knowledge. So the answer really are the people who already have that knowledge about the human psyche, about the laws of nature, about morality, about how everything really works to generate our shared experience as human beings on this planet. That's really what occultism contains. Are the people who hold that knowledge using it for toward the ignorant who don't know it yet, toward their uplift and their edification, their learning process to awaken them, to make them aware, to make them enlightened? Or are they using it to hold sway over them? Are they using it to confuse them? Are they using it to manipulate them? And are they using it to gain a power differential over people who are ignorant of that information? So that's number one to keep in mind. We don't want everybody just blanket thinking in a blanket fashion that, okay, every single pagan tradition that has ever lived is somehow evil, and this day, this holiday is evil. This was the culmination, traditionally, in pagan traditions of the fertility rites of spring. So May 1st is the midpoint of the spring season. We are now right at midpoint of spring. Spring begins March 19th/20th and proceeds to it closes at the let's see, it would be the very beginning of summer is June 20th. So into the beginning of next month, or into the second half of next month in early June, when we hit the summer solstice at June 20th, 21st. That is where you're going to see, the end of spring season. So May, right in the middle, between when it opens in late March and when it closes in mid to late June, the midpoint is right in the middle of the beginning of May. Okay, so that's when it is celebrated. Okay, they're celebrating the culmination of the growing season, the planting season, I should say. The planting season is when spring begins up until right around this point, where crops are planted for growing throughout the summer and then into the harvest season in early fall, and then even into late fall. Because in the northern hemisphere, plants, crops, etc., food growing only takes place in the time period from March all the way through, fall around October, September, October. That's it. From planting all the way through to harvest. So this is called the season of life in the occult world, okay? The season of life is the zodiac wheel, the top of the zodiac wheel. If you look at the zodiac wheel, it starts in Aries, and then it proceeds through spring and summer. And as soon as we hit around what's the one right before? Let me bring it up. Before Scorpio. Let's see. Let me just look at it. I'm just bringing up an image. Okay, so Libra, is where fall begins. Okay, so it starts in Aries, goes through Taurus, Gemini, then into summer, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo, and then the fall season begins in Libra, and then the midpoint of fall is Scorpio. Okay, so at that point, after we cross the line from between Virgo and Libra, we're entering into what has traditionally been called in the occult world the season of death, right? And that lasts from Libra all the way through Pisces, going through the fall season, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, into the winter season, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. And then, again, the year begins again at springtime, coming in at Aries at the beginning of the spring equinox. So the point here is that there is a planting season, there's a growing season, there's a harvest season. And there's a season where nothing really grows in the northern hemisphere of the earth. Okay, so what we have to understand is that the occult holiday year is centered around the growing of food. And this is what we mean by the fertility rites of spring. The fertility rites of spring are about giving thanks and energy to the earth, the sun, the ground, the soil that would give plentifully and provide enough food for everyone to survive. And again, these rituals of fertility were usually traditionally done around the early and mid-spring season. Okay, particularly around the midpoint of spring, which is Beltane or May Day. And again, Beltane is a reference to the sun. It's a reference to the sun god Bel or Baal or Bill. Okay, whatever name he was called, it was a B-L sound, the consonants B and L. You could trace it down through different ancient cultures and lineages. In some, he was named Bill, in some Bel, in some Baal, depicted as a bull. Again, that was when the sun was in the Taurus. The equinox was in Taurus. Okay, going back thousands of years ago. So we are talking about Bel's wheel. Beltane literally translates from, I guess, the ancient Gaelic, / Old English languages to the wheel of Bel. So Beltane is literally a reference to the zodiacal wheel. All right. So again, that's not negative in and of itself. Okay. It's just saying it's about the sun upon the circle or wheel of stars of the zodiac, okay, which we've covered extensively in What on Earth is Happening in previous shows, in prior material, going through all of the constellations of the zodiac and these times of the years and the Sabbats that are celebrated in them. So again, great question, Kat. The whole idea here is it's not inherently something that is bad, right? It's something that ancient peoples and particularly pagan peoples would have celebrated as energy, that is a cyclical energy of the year that is sustaining us through the sun and the earth and bringing us the food through the growing and harvest seasons that we need to sustain ourselves through the season of death, through the fall and winter time periods of the year, where food does not grow abundantly in the northern hemisphere, where the bulk of the human population actually lives, because the bulk of the land mass of the earth is in the northern hemisphere. That being said, these traditional fertility rites of spring were twisted and distorted by ancient cults that became dark occult brotherhoods and became Satanism and dark Luciferianism. The cult that essentially has taken over our world is this deformed, twisted, degraded variant of these ancient cults of antiquity, namely the stellar, the lunar, and the solar cults of the ancient world. They distorted their belief systems and twisted them all up through inversion, the whole inversion principle of turning everything that is good into something that is bad. And they made it into a literal human sacrifice ritual. So tonight will be the culmination in the dark occult calendar of the year of the time period, the single day that the most actual ritual sacrifices take place. And I'm talking about actual human sacrifice that is still practiced in our world. Okay? Tonight is the day that the dark occultists, again, these are not traditional pagans / traditional, occult groups. We're talking about the true distorted inversions of these old religions. And they're the people who really have the reins of power today, who I refer to as the dark occult. Some people, again, call them the deep state, the dark state, the permanent state. Some people refer to them as the Illuminati. I've made very publicly known I personally don't really like that name for them because it means enlightened ones, and they're not enlightened. I just call them the dark occult, because they're occultists, and they've gone into a sick, demented, deranged, and psychopathic direction with their occult beliefs. So instead of believing that they're just celebrating amongst people energy and life and the earth and having a fertility rite of spring, these distorted occultists, who I refer to as the dark occult, have twisted it into blood murder rituals, and they believe that they have to give blood to the earth to ensure a bountiful harvest for their food. They're feeding off of that energy of bloodletting and then actually utilizing it, because again, adrenaline flows into the blood upon trauma and torture. And they'll do this to people and then harvest the blood and then actually drink it, so that they're taking in those adrenal excretions. And they believe that elevates consciousness, makes them aware of things that other people are not, gives them strength, gives them vitality, gives them youth, etc. It's a distorted, crazed religion. These people are madmen, mad women.
Does that mean? Yeah, does that mean like today before sunset, or I think you said by midnight tonight? Like, are they gonna, I don't know, like do some kind of obvious thing? Because like what you just described is pretty much like their daily activity.
Right. That is possible. I'm not saying definitely. I'm saying I tell people each year you have to watch and be vigilant. And if you see a mass event, you have to realize this is part of their ritual calendar. They're coming out in the open and telling you, we're the occultists who run the world. We're the cult who runs everything. We have everybody on our take. We have everybody mind controlled by us and our belief system. And we'll do our ritual murders out in the open, our bloodletting sacrifices out in the open. This is how confident they are that they'll never be exposed, because how many people are exposing this? I mean, just ask yourself the question, how many people on this planet have exposed the occult truly? How many people have come forward and talked about the distortion of the original fertility rites of spring of some of the old pagan traditions turned into the season of sacrifice of the dark occult? Very, very, very few have made this publicly known. Again, they don't want anybody talking about this. They don't like that I'm talking about it. They're not going to validate everything that I've ever said by trying to take a hit out on me. At least I certainly don't think so. I don't think I rate that high on their radar, quite frankly. I don't think they're really worried about anything that I've ever taught people, because I don't think that they believe people are intelligent enough to understand what I've been saying all these years. They could see things, they could see the pattern over and over and over and over again that I've been saying every year, and it wouldn't matter to most people. They're just that dumb. Most people are just that fucking stupid, unfortunately. It's very sad. It's a horrible thing to have to say aloud, but it happens to be true. That's who we're dealing with. And again, until we, I know you're doing this, Kat, but until we, meaning, the royal we of the people who say they want freedom, the people who say they want the world to improve and change for the better, and for our freedoms not to continue to be lost, want to insist that somehow this is not about the occult. They want to believe that they live in a world that doesn't exist, where these people's cult belief systems and practices aren't dictating what's really going on in the world. And it's an extremely childish, naive point of view. It's not just dumb. It's not just ill-informed. It's not just uneducated. It's not just ignorant. It's a childish, naive worldview. It's like a little baby pulling the covers up over their head, and then the monster won't get them anymore because the world goes away once the covers go up over your head. Don't you know? You didn't know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it works. Yeah.
Well, just like,
and again, I'm a condescending son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I'll just say it like that to people. Like, you're really that dumb? Like how? I'll just say to people, how old are you? Because I would have imagined that you're 3 years old. You know, that's what you sound like. That's what people sound like when they say, there's no such thing as covert religion. Where's my vomit guy when I need him? There's no such thing as covert religion. You know?
So could I like just like we were we did some time over the weekend, just doing some fitness, and like me, I talk about fitness all the time, and especially psychological, emotional fitness, because in my experiences for decades, I really saw that most people were not being raised to their healthy potential, and and like I just try to make it in as simple ways as possible for people to understand that, it's right there in the family system, which is why I studied the family system and parenting and child neglect. And, I don't even like to use the word child abuse anymore, because you don't have to be abused to be really like blatantly abused to be screwed. You can just rightly, just not be raised and, to your potential, to self-actualize, be taught how amazing and powerful and, like the level of capacity that people have mentally and physically is like, barely being used in most people. And, to me, if you can't see that, like if you can't see that your health was wrecked, just by walking around the way most people do day in and day out, and just think it's normal to, chase paychecks and freaking pay your damn taxes and all that, then, it's really difficult to get to get through, to see, like, to get people to see that they really kind of I just call them adult children.
They're the permanently mundane. They're the people who have lived a mundane existence almost their entire lives, or their entire lives, and they believe that nothing is real unless the nightly news has told them that it's real. I mean, could you imagine? Could anybody who's even has a modicum of intelligence in the modern age imagine how dumb a person has to be to believe nonsense like that? It's staggering. It's really staggering and sad, that this is where we're still at, that we have a childish populace like this. And again, I have an expert here on the topic because, this is a person who clearly, and I'm not talking about you, Kat. I have an expert standing by who is really, has been talking about the fact that there's no such thing as the occult world, for many, many, many years now. And, here he is. I'd like to bring him on. And, this is a person who has, been spouting nonstop continually that there's no such thing about the occult. There's no such thing as the occult. Well, let's hear from our expert. Yeah, I just want to say here that, the occult isn't real. This is something that's just made up, and people are just trying to scare people with fear porn. They don't do blood sacrifice rituals on a yearly basis, just about the same way and the same times every year, where you can just track and trace it if you have any reasonable intelligence and can see a pattern. No, there's no such thing. I don't believe in any of that stuff because that doesn't affect me. These people, they're not Satanists. No, they don't do anything like that. Passio and people who believe what he's saying, they're ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This
I
is
mean,
how bad it
like,
is, folks.
those are people that are really mentally out of shape. I mean, I don't know how else to say it, because I've seen it for decades and decades. Like, I always saw physical and emotional fitness pretty much the same, and as easy as it is to be physically out of shape, you can be emotionally out of shape. And then when truth and facts and things that make people like uncomfortable or inconvenient, I mean, the same response occurs. I mean, they don't want to be made to be uncomfortable. They really push it away. And like, I've always pretty much dove into discomfort, like try to get people to move towards discomfort and pain. And I mean, not pain, but yeah, just things that are inconvenient, because that's the way to fitness. And most people pretty much go in the other direction.
Without discomfort, there's not going to be much improvement. It's like if everything were just flowers and light all the time, you wouldn't have any tension to build against.
Exactly.
We don't need to go into the extreme depth of imbalance of evil, but
Right.
there's always going to be something that's going to have to act as a tensioner. Otherwise, how will you ever build muscle? How will you ever build strength?
How does your heart pump?
Right. But going back to what Beltane really is. Again, tonight it's just all over the world that as it turns midnight, you're all over the world. They will have rituals with blood sacrifice in them of animals and people, and largely children, and probably young animals. They believe that the sacrifice of innocence somehow gives the greatest energy. And look, youth and innocence is a high level energy, make no mistake about it. But they believe that they have to squash that out. They believe that they have to distort that they have to put it down, murder it, etc. And that somehow that release from that blood is going to nourish and sustain them. This is where this cult's mindset is at. And when I give Two Masks, Same Face in October, I'm going to talk about that. These are the political factions. The political factions are just masks of this cult. And I don't care whether we're talking about Republican, Democrat, right? Whether we're talking about just left-wing, right-wing, whether we're talking about, socialist slash, fascist, all the way up to Nazi and communist. It doesn't matter the extremity that it goes to. It does not matter how far extreme it goes. It's all there to get people to accept the dichotomy, to get them to accept the schism, to get them to accept the dialectic. That is what it's all there for, And eventually they want to build it from, it's just left-wing versus right-wing politics, all the way up to which brand of evil do you want ruling you? Do you want Nazism ruling you? Do you want communism ruling you? Which faction of Satanism do you want ruling you? Because again, they share the same high holiday. Part of what I'll be talking about is just look at the holidays of the Nazi Third Reich. May 1st, right? The Festival of Light. Then what about May 1st in the communist holiday tradition? That's their May Day. That's the beginning and height of their year. Just think about it. They all choose the same thing, the same basic signs, the same basic methods and structures. People think it's so different. It's not different. It's all the destruction of human rights. It's the destruction of goodness. It's the destruction of individualism. It's the destruction of free will. It's the destruction of innocence and purity and goodness and anything that is good and right. And how do people think it's any different? What, they had different uniforms? Oh my God, they had different uniforms. They call each other different things. They have different salutes. They have different names for their ranks. So what? You're taking people to the same place, Yeah, go ahead.
What I feel like the public needs to realize, I tried stressing this on the podcast that I did on Thursday. I don't think I uploaded it to my profile on One Great Work Network yet, but how the people, like the dark occultists, have the people unconsciously doing their bidding, and they walk around just not even realizing, paying absolutely no attention to their bad habits
Sure.
and how they really act and function against their own best interest for decades,
Of course.
and it's like they're afraid, like they're just terrified to really step into their power, to be present. And I just want to make this one last point about, because you said before about, the innocence and sacrificing innocence. And like that's how the whole system has functioned completely in the wrong direction of, nature. You talked about, the harvest and all that stuff before. Yep. Like, to me, raising children and protecting children is the greatest harvest that you can do, and not protecting them and sacrificing them and making it normal for decades.
That's the greatest negative harvest. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it's just really important to, for people to realize that, I always keep thinking, you don't have to go to the Arctic or all these places to see the complete devastation of, nature taking place. Like, this whole system, and especially like not protecting and like not just not protecting children and vulnerable populations, but actively like leaving them and with the bill and the pollution, like, and then screw them if they don't like it, because that's what I experienced for decades. Like, I just on Thursday on my podcast. Yeah, just like they were talking about this East Palestine thing, and then this truck, taking toxic soil away from East Palestine that dumped over, like, with more of this toxic stuff, and the people that are just getting sicker and sicker right. and sicker over there. And I just basically try to show the parallels of things like that and that are going on today
all
with
of these continued environmental degradations and toxic spills and toxic chemicals being released into the air. That's all part of their ritual sacrifice as well, to degrade right. the earth itself. And again, one thing you have to keep in mind regarding all of this is innocence and purity is not the same as ignorance and naivete. Right. To be quote innocent in a healthy way is not to right. be ignorant, is not to be childish in a negative way, like in a naive way. We have to become streetwise, strive for purity as far as morality is concerned, but that doesn't mean you don't look at the dark things and become streetwise to their methods. You got to be aware if there's a predator surrounding you. You have to have heightened alert and awareness all around you. I mean, that's part of knowing your environment and just being aware of your surroundings like any adult should. And again, the protection of innocence is one of the greatest jobs. That's one of the greatest things that anybody could really be charged with. And that's again why we're failing so miserably as a people, because if people are failing as parents to educate their children, to take them out of childish naivete and prepare them for dealing in the world, for prepare them for dealing with the predators that are in our world, and they're not doing that, then they're a part of the sacrifice of our children if they're not doing those
right.
things.
Right. Yep. I mean, I could go on, but I know, there's other people waiting to speak.
Oh, it's okay, Kat. Glad to hear from you. Always, you always do a great job with your analysis. Great to have you on One Great Work Network. And thank you for calling in today and bringing up great points, asking a question about, what is this time period? What is Beltane? I hope I clarified what it traditionally is versus what it has been turned into. I hope I made it clear that this is not all just negative and evil. It has been distorted into that by the dark occult.
Yep. All right, I'll see you next Saturday.
Great. Kat, thank you again. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mark.
You got
Thanks
it.
for what you do.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, let's see who else we have holding on the line here. Again, I apologize if I look off screen, folks. I have a laptop where I'm actually bringing the calls into my setup from, so that's why I look over to my left. Let's hear from Conrad. Conrad, you are live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mark, good afternoon. I'm glad to be on here again.
Absolutely.
And Kat just said exactly what I was thinking, what was on my mind, and it brings up my question.
Sure.
My question to you about protecting the innocent and how we can or cannot do that. What do you think about the recent Washington gun ban, Washington being the 10th now state to actually be able to ban and outlaw semi-automatic rifles, the so-called assault rifles, and more specifically how easy it has been and how quiet everybody is when it comes to these guns, that now they're just going to go away now.
I haven't even heard about this in Washington State, you say?
Washington State now, and it's the 10th state to actually ban future production manufacture. Of course, they can't take the existing guns, but you know, this is This is a marathon, not a sprint. You know, they're just going to wait until the weapons we have now are unusable.
Obviously, people have to take immense lawsuits against them. I mean, that's using the apparatus of the state, but that's really the only thing that will slow this down right now, because if they get hurt in the wallet, they will have to reverse some of these positions. It's one of the ways that people have brought constitutional carry by suing state legislatures that are preventing it. And once they run out of money to continue to fight these lawsuits and they're really hurt in the wallet and they can't do business the way that they were once doing it, that's when they eventually capitulate. So I think we need to perhaps use some of the same tactics that were used to bring in constitutional carry to, I think now the 26 states that have it, to get these laws off the books. You know, I don't like to analyze and go into a lot of political stuff, but I'm just saying that really once that happens, that you have open tyranny in a state, and I would say that open lawful rebellion is perfectly justified at that point. Like, as soon as you're telling people that you can't have arms that the military has, you're basically saying, we rule you, we're already a tyranny. And this is what the founders were trying to explain to people. That's why they formulated the Second Amendment, because they wanted people to have commensurate strength to a standing army. They wanted the public to always maintain that, and that's what the Second Amendment is about. It is not about just firearms. It is about all weapons, and it is not about, you know, any standardized state-run militias. It is about the people. They were very clear. I did analysis of these in 2 presentations, breaking down every word that the founders wrote in the Second Amendment and what it meant in the parlance of their times, what they said that they meant by it. And they were very unambiguous that they meant that the arms should be in the hands of all the people, because they knew that the militia was a distributed force that would be able to be raised quickly to fight any standing threat of a military, foreign, or standing army, domestically or otherwise. So yeah, that's what I would say is what we have to do is, number one, raise awareness of that. I had not even heard about that going on in Washington State. I think that lawsuits have to be obviously brought against them by, you know, people who are like lobbyists and are going to stand for the rights of the people to have those weapons, which they absolutely have every right to have. So it's a tyrannical act, and the people of that state should already be in rebellion against an act of tyranny like that. You know, they should be up in arms over it, literally.
Right, my state already has one of these in effect.
Look at how blue / you know, quote, liberal. You know, it's a disgrace to the word liberal, which means related to freedom. How neoliberal, how communist, you know, the state of Washington is. You know, Oregon, Washington, California, basically the whole West Coast. I mean, the people there are general disgraces. Most of the population, I don't want to make a blanket statement and say every person is, but it's like most people who don't want to deal with those policies don't live there anymore. They've moved to other states with more sensible approaches. And, you know, the people in those states should really be absolutely disgracefully ashamed of themselves to allow this. Disgracefully ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same. I live in Chicago, so Illinois is another one of these states. It just got passed after the last shooting that happened last summer. So I live in one of these states too, and it's the same thing. All this tribalism. People are like, oh yeah, it's the blue states. That's what they get. But I'm not going to be one of these guys that just moves to a different state to run from the problem.
The people who don't understand gun ownership, the people who don't understand the right to keep and bear arms, the people who don't understand the right of self-defense are literally functionally retarded. And I'll say that right to all the people in Europe who still don't understand this and think that Americans are weird because we want our gun rights, we want our right to bear arms and self-defense intact. You're functionally retarded people. That's how dumb you are. I cannot believe that anybody on this planet doesn't understand the right to self-defense and somehow thinks that that's not spiritual. I hear this argument, oh, if you're a spiritual person, what do you need a gun for? Just shove that right up your ass. Shove that whole argument and attitude right up your asshole. It's just a dumb fucking child's approach. And I'm not just going to say that because it's an ad hominem attack. You don't have an argument. No, I have an argument and I've made it already. And I don't even need to repeat it endlessly. It's a natural right. It's part of natural law. I've talked about it in the natural law seminar. I've talked about it in the Second Amendment presentations I've done. The people who ignore it, you're just fucking dumb. That's all it is. You're just dumb fucking people. You're little naive children. You're naive little children. You're brainwashed fucking losers. That's all. And people have to say it to you like that. You need to be told it. You need to be told like that. You're a dumb fucking uneducated loser child. But how many people will just say that to the European who's telling them you should give up your guns? You shouldn't be up in arms because your government wants to take away your natural rights to defend yourself with whatever weapons you see fit. You need to look at people like that in the face and go, you don't understand natural law, you dumb fuck. And it doesn't matter how much they're offended by it. You're wrong. You're simply wrong. And I don't need to be nice. I am correct. I'm correct. I'm in the right. You're not in the right to the people who don't understand self-defense. So, this is what I think the approach needs to be. People need to educate themselves about what rights are. That's the problem. Is that a lot of these people are so fucking brainwashed, they don't even know what a right is. They don't know what rights are. They don't know what self-defense is. They don't understand self-defense under natural law. They don't understand the right to keep, or meaning own and bear, or to carry arms, not firearms, arms of any kind. The Second Amendment was not referring to arms. It was referring to a right of humanity. It doesn't matter where you're at on the planet, to carry weaponry, to own weaponry, and to carry weaponry on your person. That is what it referred to. An existing right. It is not granting a right. It is not telling people that we're issuing this right. It is telling the government that was constituted, you shall never infringe upon this self-existing natural right that exists in nature inherently for all people. That's why it says, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And the first part of it's more important, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, meaning the people have to maintain weapons commensurate with military force and strength in a distributed fashion. That's what a militia is, in order to maintain a free state of existence. It doesn't mean free state as in Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. It meant free state of existence. That's why the word state is capitalized, and that's why the word arms is capitalized in the Second Amendment. Arms meant any weapon that could be used to defend a person or their rights or their property. It does not just mean firearms. The word firearms does not even appear in the Second Amendment. The word arms, capitalized, does. And again, this is what people are just totally ill-educated. They're unread, they're ill-educated, they're brainwashed, and they've had the inherent aspect of their being that should want to defend themselves and should want to defend goodness and purity and honesty and everything that is good. They've had that stripped away from their character. They've had that stripped away from the core and the essence of their being, and they're broken husks of souls. Let me just say this unequivocally, because Conrad, your question has gotten me fired up here a little bit. Every person out there, and I'm referring to some of you out there in the viewing audience, and especially people out there in the continent of Europe, who you should really be held with your feet to the fire, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. Many of you, some of you do understand it, many of you do not. Most of you, I would say, do not, because of the brainwashing you've received since the time you were fucking children, and you're still naive little children in many regards. Any soul, any being on this planet that does not inherently truly understand the right of an individual's self-defense against the incursion against their rights with any weaponry, you are a broken husk of a soul. You are not a spiritual being. You are the antithesis of spirituality. You are the antithesis of enlightenment, meaning you are the exact polar opposite of what it means to be an enlightened spiritual being. And that means a huge part of your soul is a broken fucking husk. And come and see me about it, and we'll talk face to face, eye to eye, and I'll look right in your eyes and tell you that. Anybody who believes that there's no such thing as the right to defend yourself with a weapon, I'll look straight in your eyes and tell you you're a broken husk of a soul. And you don't understand spirituality whatsoever. Zero. So, Conrad, thank you so much for bringing that up, and I agree. We should all get fired up about it, and people really should do something about it. And where we should start is trying to hurt them in the wallet, because that's where they really respond to. Obviously, it should obviously be taken even more seriously than that, but as a starting point, there's been very successful strategies in all of the states in general to reverse gun laws going in a wrong direction by suing state legislatures. And this is what gun lobby groups have been doing, and they've been getting them to eventually be able to have to drop the draconian legislation and allow things like constitutional carry. I don't know if you've seen, Conrad, if you've seen the constitutional carry map that is an animated map that shows the state of constitutional carry throughout the years, the state of basically gun permits all the way through to, constitutional carry. They show the states where there is no issue, meaning that they're in flagrant violation of the Second Amendment, to a may issue state, which means you have to somehow prove that you're worthy of carrying a gun in the state's eyes, which is also a flagrant violation of the Second Amendment and people's natural law rights to own and carry weaponry, up to shall issue, which means as long as you don't have a criminal record, you just go in and get a permit, to all the way up to constitutional carry, which means the state is not involved, which means there is no permit. By default, you can carry a weapon. You can carry a firearm with or without a permit. Doesn't matter. So this is what needs to be in place in all 50 states, is that there is no restriction regarding permits or the right to carry. And we have 26 states that are operating correctly in the United States with full constitutional carry, and it needs to be all 50. And again, this is the main strategy that has led to that, is really suing the pants out of state legislatures so that they don't really have the funds to continue to fight the lawsuits. At least insofar as I've understood how it's worked in the last several decades to get it to the point where we now have 26 constitutional carry states. Conrad, are you still with you?
I haven't seen it, to be quite honest with you. I just get frustrated in that, I get skeptical of because the things will stall in the courts eventually, and I'm just, when it gets passed, I'm assuming I'm like, oh shit, I'm ready to fight, so I understand it being an effective approach. I
hear you.
Still.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, people, have to really truly stand up for themselves and their rights. And that's the problem, is that we've let it go so far that people have not done that. They've just let these tyrants continue to make encroachments and advancements. And that's what the whole Second Amendment wording is about. Shall not be infringed. Infringement is an encroachment. It's a slow, steady advance upon one's rights, which people do not have the right to do. They're tyrants acting completely unlawfully, is the answer. And they should be stopped from doing those things.
Yeah, and not just protecting, it's not just self-defense, but protecting women and children. Isn't this what men are supposed to do? Maximizing our ability to protect the innocent. And this is what Catherine was saying. And who are these people? They're soft. These aren't men. There's something else. There's
only one word to describe them, and I'm going to spell it out for you, as Big Cass would say back in WWE. SAWFT, soft. And that's a terrible, terrible thing to ever say to another human being, especially a so-called male, a so-called man. You're just soft, son. That's what they are. That's what they are. And that is the lowest of insults, believe me. That's lower than in the South, I'm telling you, to bless your heart, honey. To call someone soft up here. That's what they are. They're just soft. That's bad. If you don't understand that slang insult, folks, just trust me, it's bad. Okay? And that's what those people are. As a pillow, as they say up here. Conrad, I want to thank you so much. Great call. Thank you for bringing that issue to our attention. I'll need to follow it even more closely.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a good one, Mark.
You got it. All right, let's see who else is holding on the line. Let's hear from Vivian. Vivian, you are live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome to the show.
Hey, love. How are you?
I'm well.
Nice to talk to you.
You too.
Is it very noisy here?
No, I can hear you fine so far.
Just turn one of these things off. Okay. Hey, so I was thinking, I'm from Europe originally. I've been here 30 years. Mm-hmm. But originally I'm from Europe, and
just having said that, just tell me their mindset when it comes to guns. Tell me their mindset when it comes to personal self-defense. Explain it from someone that has lived here for many, many years. I've only visited Europe. Beautiful, place to visit. As far as the mindset, as far as gun rights and self-defense, I don't know if I would want to permanently be around it. But tell me your experience regarding it.
Well, I think it's several things. One, a lot of people went through horrible, horrible, horrible wars. For example, I'm from Spain, and, brother was killing each other. And, it was such a fucking mess over there. There were so many evil factions and propaganda. And people always, I think, come from a good place in their hearts that, they took up arms to defend the ideals that we're going to make a better society, and they were going to free the poor, and they were going to make factories work better. There's actually a very interesting anarchist movement in there of the people that, were teaching women and empowering people and starting schools. And there was all this mix of good and evil all barreled into one. And so I think, after it all ended terribly wrong, and we were left there for 40 years with a fascist. And even the countries that weren't left there for 40 years with a fascist, they went through another terrible wars. So I think from their perspective, so the rest of us, grew up without the guns because they were taken away from us. And they symbolized, horror and death and destruction and brother against brother. So I understand very well where they come from. And also, when you grow up without them at all, there's only guns to hunt or whatever, you forget what another use could be. It's like everything. They're just a tool, and the tool can be used for many things.
That's
like
right.
You can butter your bread, or you can kill somebody,
That's right.
with a knife. So they forget, and they have that generational sorrow and suffering and horror, just hell, literally hell.
Let me ask you this. How much in the popular culture, as far as, let's say, school teachers, even family and friends, parents, like when children are growing up young, how many of them are culturally indoctrinated to see the view, the actual mindset of most Americans? I'll say maybe at least half to 2/3 of Americans regarding the right of gun ownership as something that is somehow really bad and evil and somehow backwards. How much of that is pushed culturally and through pop culture in Europe?
Well, it's an interesting question, because I think the view of Americans, for example, in Spain, I think it has evolved. But when I was, I'm 60 now. So when I was young, America was very well advertised, not maybe in the sense of guns or anything, but Americans were seen as powerful and resourceful and making things and solving problems. And we even got the propaganda that, you guys were trying to defend democracy or whatever, even though we had been left with the fucking fascists for 40 years.
Sure.
And I insist on that, But they didn't see that. There was very good propaganda for Americans. And then, of course, people change and revert that, and they're the most evil thing in the world. So there was everything. But I don't think there's any talk of guns there. When I was growing up, I didn't experience that. It was not a non-issue. And I lived in Australia too, where the guns were taken away much later. And I also
after the Port Arthur massacre, which took place during the occult season of sacrifice, and worked flawlessly to get people to reverse their mindset regarding semi-automatic weaponry, and they got that banned. Yeah,
the thing is that the conversation is here. And so when I first came here, I was kind of horrified about it. You're just horrified about the guns. You don't think further than that. And now, of course, I see the empowerment.
Sure.
That in the sense that, we lack as Europeans. And I think it's very evident there that they're in the hands of the government completely.
Yep.
With taxes, and it's like a normal thing. Like they can barge into your... I just was watching this fantastic French show, laughing my ass off. I'm half French, so I love that language and the people and the culture. But it doesn't even occur to them to feel even molested when they're being molested by the government to look into all their receipts or whatever,
right,
and they demanded $500,000. They don't think anything of it. It's just part of the culture, which is absurd if you think about it. But they don't have a concept. They're missing that part of themselves. They're totally missing.
Yep.
I've regained it here in the States. I'm in Texas. So at first I was like, oh, and now I'm like, I feel like a Texan. I feel like this, I don't want to call it pride, because it's not pride, but it's like very firmly planted on the earth.
Right.
In which you are, okay, this is me. This is how I live. This is my land. And don't come here barging in on me, because this is me.
It's just great to understand human rights like that. Mm-hmm. That's where that wonderful, positive feeling, that emotion comes from, is when you stand within the rights, when you stand within an understanding of rights. It's an empowerment. Truth empowers.
Yeah, and where there's no taboos, because I will tell you, this is a taboo subject in Europe. For many reasons, but one of the reasons is like there is no way to procure the guns. Look, I used to be an actor, and I got a part playing an Interpol cop, and I wanted to look good, because I was like, oh, I don't know how to shoot. So I went, and my boyfriend at the time had a friend who had been in the military, who now was retired, and had a shooting range in his house, which was the most unusual thing you could possibly imagine. And the only reason he was allowed to do that is because he was training the Olympic team. And this is the first connection that I had to guns. And I was, of course, against them and everything, but, I was just doing my job. And I was the best shot you can possibly imagine.
Nice.
I did not, I made even with him.
I find women take to firearms very naturally.
It was crazy. I was shocked. I was like in complete disbelief. I was like, how can this be? But I was so good. I've never, anyway. So, and I, of course, didn't want to do that. And then, of course, when I shot, I even made a mistake. I was so mad at myself. But anyway, but at least I knew how to handle them. And I understood, the love this guy had for this and the art that it could be. but the feelings, you see, that's what's missing. So people have no clue of that feeling. People have no clue of that feeling where you're empowered.
That's why I said there's something that has been stolen from them, that has been ripped away from them. If you steal something from a child and they never know growing up that something was stolen from them, they live their entire existence believing that it is totally normal and natural for them not to have that. And that's what I'm talking about when it comes to the natural right of self-defense and the ownership of weapons. It's sad. I almost shouldn't really even try to degrade people. I feel sorry for most people in other nations, especially in Europe. I feel sorry for you that your soul has had something stolen from it. And unfortunately, the vast bulk of you, the vast majority of you, overwhelmingly, has not even recognized that something has been ripped away from you. And that's sad.
Until you do, though. I mean, I'm a perfect example, right? I mean, of course, I've been here 30 years, so I'm half and half, right? I'm not one or the other. But to tell you that it can be found, it can be learned, and it just does take some sort of, direct contact with it. So I think as Americans, and there's one thing that is strange, though, but because in Spain or France or Italy, they have something that we don't have here, which is they revolt. And of course it's not shown on TV, but I have my sisters there and I have French, and so I see things there.
And you're referring to protest in the streets. They're big into that.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're super big, but the thing is, it's very powerful because 1 million of them will come out. And I've seen this in person, like 500,000, 1 million people will come out. And they don't have guns, but they are powerful. And that's their form of protest. And here, like you're saying, okay, they're taking the rights away and nobody moves a freaking finger. Like, right. I'm like you. I don't believe that this system is salvageable. I don't believe in democracy. I don't believe in any of that just because it doesn't work. And I'm completely on board.
It never has been salvageable because it's been set up as a prison system from the very beginning. It's never been a system to advocate for true freedom. It's always been set up as a control system. We have to just make that recognition and take our natural rights back and never let anybody ever take them away.
And it's a system for children, and that's the problem. The majority of people are not grown up. That's
right.
They can't self-govern because they're not mature.
That's right. So you got to keep people in a psychologically immature, naive state to keep their rights away from them permanently. That's the only way you could ever do it. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. But that said, if they're literally down the street and here in Austin, whatever, going to decide on something that is going to affect you directly, well, I've walked myself over there to go like, hell no, right? And I'm dismayed at how few people are there. We're not gone. It's disgusting. So you guys have the sense of power that, a lot of you understand, my liberal friends will kill me right now, but I don't care. That is what I think. And they have that sense of empowerment. That's great. But at the same time, when you need, 1 million, literally 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, and a lot of million people could show up here in the States to say, hey, no, that's it. No,
that's the lost word of all power. There it is. No.
But nobody shows up.
Yeah.
And that's, so I think we have that to learn from there because they show up. And then, of course, they're infiltrated and the police actually, pose. And I've seen that happen in person.
Agent provocateuring, right.
The provocateurs are completely peaceful because that is the way to do it. Because you can't get 1 million people with, then it's a shit show and then you have what we had before. So for showing up as a weapon together, that's the weapon, right? It's a powerful weapon. Now, if somebody comes to your house trying to force vaccinate you or whatever, the other weapon's really good, right? Maybe you only get to play that weapon once, but fuck, you made a point.
They're going to be very reluctant to try anything like that here. I can guarantee that. Yeah.
Exactly. So just to say that we have things to learn from each other,
sure.
Right? I really want the Americans to show up. And of course, then they're going to try to distort it and did that they did with the Capitol, that, there was this and they lie and all that. I understand that. But if it's consistent,
right,
and every time they try to pass a law that is absolute bullshit, people need to show up and not be disrespectful or anything. Say, no, you're not going to do that.
Yeah, just mentally show up. Show up mentally, understanding the issue,
exactly. And so, I mean, I think we all have a lot to learn from each other, but, I do appreciate that, you understand that there's something missing, but there's something missing everywhere.
Sure. Absolutely. Vivian, thank you so much. Great points that you brought up. I appreciate it.
I wasn't going to come on. I was just listening to you while I was writing, but since you were talking about that, I felt like I had something to say. I appreciate the opportunity.
Glad you called in. Thank you.
Okay, love. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Awesome. Let's hear from Fred. Fred, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome to the show.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear.
Hi, Mark. How are you doing, man?
Not bad. Yourself?
I'm doing great. You talked about guns right and things like that. And I just wanted to say that in Canada, actually, there's the Bill C-21. It's to ban or freeze handguns and then shotguns. And then at the same time, the Bill C-11.
In the whole nation, this is like a federal Canadian bill?
Yes, exactly. And then the Bill C-11, it's for complete control of the internet by the state.
Wow.
That just passed. Yes. So
they're making their moves, I'm telling you. They're going for broke in this time period because they think they can get away with it. And in some areas of the world, they've disarmed the population sufficiently that they will be able to get away with it. And here's the thing. When I'm talking about they, right, I'm not just talking about politicians, bankers, occultists, The people who will do this to their own fellow citizenry in every single city, state, country in the entire world are the police and the military, the order followers. This is the conversation that has to be had everywhere. When laws that create tyranny are enacted by politicians, who enforces them? How do they get tyrannically enforced upon the populations whose rights they are violating? Dumbass police do it. Dumbass members of the military do it. Where is the conversation of order followers are the greatest evil that has ever existed in all of humanity? Let me tell you something, folks. If you look at every dark occultist that has ever lived, every single one, every Satanist, every dark Luciferian, every horrible dark Freemason, every negative and dark Rosicrucian that's following the Ahrimanic force. You name the form of dark occultism, every Klepotic Kabbalist that has ever lived. They have not done 1/1,000,000th of the evil that all of the police and military have ever done in human history. Those are the people, in whatever form they've ever existed in, whether it's the Sturmabteilung, the SA in Germany, the SS, whether it's the secret police of Soviet Russia, whether it's the secret police of East Berlin, the Stasi, you name it, it doesn't matter where they've ever existed. The police and the military are always the violent thug enforcers of every act of tyranny that has ever existed in humankind. Whether it's the Crown's henchmen soldiers, whether it's the Duke's, thugs that he sends out into the forest to say, you can't hunt these grounds, or I'm going to levy this tax or that tax. It's always, everywhere, the order followers of a society that will give their mind over to the evil, the ones who are ordering the evil. But the enactors of the evil are not the orders of the evil. Those who order the evil into existence are not the ones who enact the evil. Please note this. Notice and note this. Sit and think with it in your own mind. Sit and meditate upon this. Don't even just meditate upon it. Contemplate it. Literally sit with the thought. Who brings the manifest evil into a society? Do the people who say, I want this done, are they the implementers of the evil? When a king in the ancient world ordered something tyrannical to be done against the people, who was he speaking to? Who was he ordering? He was telling his henchmen, his soldiers, his police, his military to do it to the other members of the population. This is the first and primary divide that they have to do. They have to separate society into the average person or citizenry versus the people who are members of the state, who are going to control and enact the will of the ruling class upon the average members of the citizenry. And the idiots who are members of the citizenry of the people, the body of the people, go and do that job for money. Because they don't love truth. They don't love freedom. They don't love their family. They don't love their children. They don't love their fellow citizens. They don't love anybody. They don't even love themselves. An order follower cannot have self-love. Somebody who is going and doing the bidding of someone else cannot love themselves. And by extension, they cannot express love for anyone else. Not truly. It's all, even if they claim that they love anything, anybody, anything, whether they claim they love themselves, their families, their pets, their friends, it doesn't matter what they claim. It's a false claim. They're wrong. It isn't even that they're lying. They may even believe that in their own mind, but you are incorrect because you don't know what love is. You only believe you know what love is. You think love is somehow you've gauged some level of security for yourself and your immediate so-called loved ones. That isn't what love is. Just earning a modicum of security because you're receiving a paycheck. That's not love. That's evil. That's you accepting comfort to do something that is wrong. That's the definition of fucking evil. And dumbasses all over the world believe somehow that they're good people who are capable of love, who have any internal love. You don't even have internal love. You think you could love externally? You don't even know what love is. Because you don't know what agape love is. You think somehow comfort is love. You think somehow just either fraternal love between family members is love, or romantic love between you and your wife is love, or familial love between you and your children is love. All of that is secondary to true love, to agape love, to the love of truth, to the love of what is right, to the love of justice. You don't have that. They don't have that, those people. So if you don't have that, how could you have self-love? You can't. It's impossible. It's an impossibility. They're not spiritually awake. They don't have true spirituality developed in the core of their being. They don't understand what real love is. They don't understand what real togetherness is. They don't understand what justice is. They have all distorted senses of all of these things. It's all a satanic inversion where those ideas are completely turned upside down 180 degrees. And then they want to believe somehow that they're good people. They're the trash of the world. They're the absolute detritus. You're the refuse and detritus of the entire planet, order followers. Always have been, are now, and always will be. And we need to have that discussion. Why aren't more people, when I turn on the alternative media, why aren't they railing against the order followers of the world? They're talking about all the things politicians are doing. Oh, this war is happening. Oh, this law is passed. Who is the enactor of all of those violent things? Who are the thug enforcers? It's the police and military of any system, of any state, of any government, anywhere in the world, at any time period of human history. They're always the implementers of the evil. Order followers are the implementers of all evil that has ever existed on this planet. Get as offended about it as anybody wants. It's still true. You're never going to make it untrue. I'm right. If you don't think so, you're wrong. I'm still correct. You're still wrong. Get as offended about it as you like. It will never change in the nature of reality. What I've said there is objectively true, and if you don't understand it, you are the one who is standing within the wrong. And that is how it has to be said to people. It has to be openly just fucking said just like that to people. And the problem is, most people won't do it. Most people just will not do it. Fred, I know I said a mouthful there, but your addendum to all of that. Are you still there? I'm not hearing you. Fred, if you want to add anything to that, go right ahead. If not, I'll let you go and move on to the next caller. All right, if you want to call back in, let's hear from... Who else is holding here? Let's hear from Evan. Evan, you're live on What on Earth is Happening. Welcome to the show. You're muted still. Go ahead and unmute yourself with the large microphone icon at the bottom of the call window. There you go.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes, I can. Loud and clear now.
Awesome, thank you. It's great to hear from the great Mark Passio.
Thank you.
I was wondering, have you been in touch with Jay Parker recently?
I speak with Jay almost on a semi-regular basis. So I spoke with him this past week. He was actually on the show, and Jay and I talk privately, just as friends. So, is there something that you wanted to mention regarding him?
Oh well, I mean, I think he's awesome for coming out and. Like he's been a great benefit to humanity with everything he's done.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that Jay came forward and told his story. And, unfortunately, it's so traumatic. It was very difficult for him to get that, out into the open publicly. But I'm glad he did it because, it has opened up a lot of people's eyes and has helped a lot of people to recover from some of their own traumas in that same vein that he experienced.
Yeah, he actually got me started on the EFT.
Nice.
I've been trying that as well and very excited about it.
Nice.
I've also been on his website and I noticed a few of the links don't have any videos or like just kind of lead to empty pages. So I was wondering if maybe he could address that if he gets a chance, but I'm sure he's pretty busy as well.
Yeah,
so.
I know probably some links that he put up, years or even months ago have been taken offline and censored. That's a problem that a lot of, researchers and public presenters face, where we'll point to a resource through a URL and then it will be censored and taken offline. That happens constantly. So you'll probably notice even in some of my early podcasts, I linked to some videos related to the topics I was discussing, and probably many of those links are now broken. What I would suggest is if you encounter a link like that you go to the Odyssey platform and search for it there, or perhaps go to a BitTorrent site and search for the video there, and you'll probably have better luck because if it was ever posted to YouTube has just gone on a vicious censorship campaign because they're trash Nazis. And, the people who work for YouTube they're so dumb that they don't understand that they're Nazis. I'm saying this while I'm broadcasting on their platform. I'll tell it right to their face in person. Come and see me in person and see if I won't say it right in your eyes, right to your face, looking at you, staring you in the eyes. I'll tell the people who work at YouTube, you are rotten scumbag Nazis. You are literal Nazis. You're not just figurative Nazis. You are Nazis. You embody everything that it is to be a Nazi and a communist piece of trash. both together, because you're authoritarian scumbags, because you're for the censorship of information, because you believe you know better. Could you imagine me with all of my knowledge? I'm a living fucking library of knowledge, quite frankly, and I'll say that. I'm not the kind of person that goes, oh, all I know is that I know nothing. No, wrong. I'm a fucking living library of knowledge, and I'll be the first to tell people that. And you know what? That knowledge is hard fucking won. I broke my balls to know what I know. I busted my ass to know what I know. I gave up my life to learn what I've learned. Make no mistake about it. Let's be real clear on this point. So I know quite a fucking bit. And I'll say what I know, and if I don't know something, I'll tell you right to your face, I don't know the answer. There's nothing to be ashamed about to not know something. To not know is the beginning of knowledge, because then you have to go off on the quest and search for the truth, and use the trivium truth discovery methodology to determine what is accurate and what is correct and what is right. So, to go back to my point, I would look right into the face of those people and say, you are authoritarian scumbags because you are so weak in your position and you come from such a place of low knowledge. You're so low information density, and you're so anti-knowledge and truth that you feel that the way to go about making someone come into harmony with your position is to shut down the voice of others. Could you imagine Mark Passio? Could you imagine me, with what I fucking know, going, we need to be shutting down this person's voice? What kind of a fucking loser do you have to be? And how weak in your position do you have to be to go and say, I need this person's information shut down offline because it conflicts with what I'm saying? Imagine that. Imagine what kind of a fucking loser you have to be, and how bad your parents had to fuck you up mentally and spiritually. I mean, like, I wish I could meet some of these people in real life to just, like, laugh at them hilariously and just insult them right to their fucking face and then say, what the fuck are you going to do about what I just did, boy? That's what I would do. That's how I would do it. And you know what? I'd be right.
Yeah. I agree with Fred and yourself on this, like, we just had Bill C-11 go through, and so YouTube's going to get even more nuts with government backing and upregulating and downregulating.
Can you believe the kind of fucking losers that work for a company like that you're going to go and say, this information isn't allowed to be broadcast to the public, we're going to shut it down? Fucking Nazi trash. Cut from the same fucking cloth as all the Nazi scumbags ever were. Cut from the same cloth of all the Soviet scumbags ever were. Same cloth. They should really hear my voice, and they should go and look at themselves in the mirror and know that what they're looking at is a total Nazi fucking scumbag and a total Soviet communist fucking scumbag. That's what they are. That's what they were born as.
Well, I got you on the phone. I was wondering, could I ask you about what you think about the electric universe? Because I just recently bought a book by David Talbot, and I got your ARC, by the way, the 2.0. Cool. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, Talbot's work is on there. I like his work a lot. Yeah, I think it's very interesting. It's a very interesting postulation. I think it could very well be accurate. There are other researchers that have discussed that. Even Tesla talked about that to a degree. People like I'm trying to think of his name, Russell or something Russell. It'll come to my head, but
have you heard of a Dr. Peter Garyev?
No.
So he's a Russian scientist, and he developed linguistic wave genetics. Now,
Walter Russell was the guy who I was thinking of. I apologize. Go ahead.
Walter Russell. Okay, well, thank you. He is a Russian scientist who got a Nobel Prize nomination for healing the organs in rats in Toronto using sound wave frequencies. Now I know
Interesting.
Rife was.
I'm going to have to check him out, but unfortunately, Evan, I apologize. That's all the time we have. The show is ending, so I'll call in, the next show, and I'll bring you on to continue with that.
I'd love to.
You got it.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have for this episode of What on Earth is Happening. Remember, folks, government is slavery. We'll see you right here in a couple of weeks. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.